This conference will now be recorded.
Right. So we have discussed about skill sets and we have configured up to some extent how to create a skill set and how to enable auto scaling rules. So we will see more settings under that skill set. Okay. So you have the skill set and I have stopped that. I think I already started again. No, I've stopped it. So now I'm powering it on. If you stop it so that your missions will be in shutdown state. See here, it is in stopped state. I'll go for this overview and click on start. And once it powers on, we will see remaining scale rules settings here. Okay, so we have got this powered on and you can see the instances should be up and running. Yes, we have got. And we have disabled this custom auto scale as we wanted to shut down for the day yesterday. Now let's go for custom auto scale again. And we have got this conditions enabled, add rules, and still you can see that whatever we have added yesterday, it is there. Whenever there is a CPU utilization less than 70%, it has to increase the count of instances by 2. And whenever there is a load high, it has to decrease. So we have done a reverse way. Now, if you want to make it based on the time, you have got one more option called add a scale condition. And here you can make like, okay, what is the minimum instances that you want? What are the minimum instances that you need? And what are the maximum instances that you want? You have to make it, let's say 4. And when do you need this one? So let's say I want these instances in India time zone. Whenever there is a time zone, let's say 5:30, which is India time zone plus 5:30, and the start date, let's say the weekend, only on Sundays. Okay, if there is a business weekend, 24th 12 a.m. till 25th 12 p.m. So I've given one day 12 a.m. to 12 p.m. next day. So if you want to keep this kind of conditions, yes, you can apply this rule as well along with this based on metric. So if you don't want to use this metric, you can go directly for this one, instance limitations, and click on save. Your instances will get added. Okay. So if you want to go with this scale to a specific instance count, instead of not going to the metric, for metrics, you have to add scale in and scale out rules, right? Which is what we have done yesterday. In addition to that, you can also add this time zone. If not, you can exclusively go for this scale to a specific instance count on this time. So let's say we have got 2 instances at this stage. If I make it as 5 and based on this time, let me give today itself. Today is 22nd July and what's the time? Looks like my system time is showing 2 minutes delay. So that's the reason I'm joining 2 minutes late every day. Okay, so let me change the time here to show you. It's 2010. Let me give 2010. Oh, sorry, it should be like 12 hours format, right? 08 and I'll make it as PM. Okay, so let me save it, or because we are like, okay, let me make it as 8:11 PM, and this one also, okay, let it be. We can delete this later. Save. So I've done 5 instances for this based on the conditions that I have got, and I'll open one more tab here and we'll see what we get out of it. See here, 4 VMs are running now because this rule has enabled whatever we have created yesterday. and there is a CPU which is less than 70%, so instances are getting added as part of this condition. Now we'll wait till 8:11 p.m. and see whether we are going to get additional VMs or not as part of our additional rule created here. Okay, so now it is still 8:10. We'll wait for one more minute and we can see that instances here. So let it go. Now, how to connect to these virtual machines? So, right, we've got 4 machines, and how to log into that machines? There is a different process that you need to follow in order to consider this VM's connectivity. Okay, I will show that how to connect as well. And yeah, you can see that 5th VM is also getting created because now we have hit 8:11 p.m. India time. Okay, so you can see clearly, and within few minutes all the machines will be up and running. Now we have got 4 machines and one more machine is getting added. So it means in addition to the rules that we have here as part of the scale sets based on metrics, you can also proceed with the time-based conditions. Okay, that's what we have done, and you can add multiple conditions, not only this metric. Let's say if you are looking for another metric, let me show you. You can combine 3-4 metrics before you go for any of this scale sets. Here you can see. So instead of CPU, I want to go for operating system write operations or OS disk read bytes, because whenever you try to operate, your disk will be, I mean, whenever you're trying to access the data, it is a kind of read access. ఆ రీడ్ యాక్టివిటీస్ జరుగుతాయి అనమాట. అదే నువ్వు అందులో సేవ్ చేసి దాన్ని ఏమంటారు, రైట్ అంటారు అనమాట. Right, because when you are writing something on your notebook, it is called, as you know, the term itself is write. Okay, it means you are storing on your book, you are saving that data, whatever that you have on your mind, into your book. Same thing happening here. If you're trying to copy the data, we call it as write. If you are reading that, it is just like reading a book, where you are capturing information from the book. So this is how you can add more and more conditions to enable scale set rules, and all other components like load balancers, applications, everything is as usual. And if you want to test that application, the same method, whatever we have done for our availability set, which I have shown sample application, configure the load balancers on top of it. I mean, here already there, you have to connect to the switch machines, install the application, and then go for install the application and go for business as usual. Now, I am going to delete these instances because our credits will get expired. Instead of deleting the instances, I'm deleting these conditions. I'm deleting this, and also I'm disabling this, and even uh, there's no option to delete the rule here, which is fine. So I'm disabling this feature, and one moment, let me show you where is the deletion option. Okay, that's fine. And instance count, I'm making it as 2 so that I can save the cost, and we will see the remaining options. So you can come back here and see that your machines are getting deleted, and you don't need to worry about these numbers because these numbers are random numbers. Okay, now how to connect to those virtual machines. We have got, uh, let me refresh this one. We have got two instances as of now. How to connect it? So click on this instance. You will have all the options like normal VM. However, we will be having only limited options. If you compare with normal VM settings, you have got various controls under these settings. But here we have got only overview. Like in the overview page, we have got restart, stop, delete options. Networking, you can see the network and stuff like that. Connect, you have an option to connect. Let me try to click on this connect. It's a very basic method. I'm trying to download this RDP file, open it, and we'll see whether we are able to connect or not. So it is not going to work because it is trying to connect from private IP address, which is 10304 on port number 3389. Whether you allow port or not, it is not going to work because you have got no VPN. There is no VPN connection from your device to Azure. So there is one more method which you can try. Here it is, load balancer public IP address. You can use this load balancer public IP address if the load balancer is enabled already at the time of VM creation. So here, download the RDP file and open it, connect, and let's see whether we are able to connect or not. Okay, this is also showing error. Now, how do we connect? Let's see how to troubleshoot this kind of issues. And let me go back to load balancer settings. Okay, so this is the load balancer which we have created at the time of VM creation. And we know how to configure front-end IP address, backend pool, health probe, and also load balancing rules. This is for application. Now, we did not discuss about this option called inbound NAT rules. It means the benefit of this one is, let me show here. All right, or let me use Notepad itself. Right. So currently you are, let's say you browse every day google.com for some searching, and there are search engines like this, google.com, bing.com, yahoo.com. There are many things. Now, if you consider google.com, in the backend, there will be a IP address mapping, right? Something like this. Let's say 23 dot, I'm just using some random IP address, which is a public IP address. Plus 67. So there will be IP address for each and every website, whichever is running in the public internet or even in your internal applications as well. So they will be mapping this public IP address to this URL. However, they will also map port numbers. అంటే ఏంటి, బ్యాక్ ఎండ్ లో 3389 ఉంటుంది, ఫ్రంట్ ఎండ్ ఏమో some random number. Let's say I will give 2024 or 2022, the year. Okay, ఇస్తాను. It means I am translating address from one method to another method, just like our nicknames. నీ నేమ్ ఏదో ఉంటుంది, ఒరిజినల్ నేమ్, నిక్ నేమ్ ఇంకోటి ఏదో ఉంటుంది అనమాట. It means it will be easy to pronounce, and also sometimes, especially in terms of technology world, it is a mask or it is a security feature. It means you are not revealing the original name to the outside world, but you are using a, a nickname which we call it as alias name. You might have seen that in the news as well. Okay, morally alias some pet name. Okay, so they will be using some alias names to hide their original names to do some activities, let it be a fraud activities or whatever in terms of crime world. But here, if you consider technology world, they are worried about this security, the original name security, the original IP address, original port number security. Okay, వాళ్ళు కూడా different names తో పెడుతుంటారు అనమాట. Even google.com, it is there, but the actual original name in the backend will be different, and this is also different. So in the front end, you'll have only URL and with some visible IP addresses. Okay, so we call this kind of concepts called NAT, which is like network address translation. Okay, and people will call it as NAT rules. It means you are translating original name to another name to meet the security standards or to meet the functionality of that service. Okay, now the same way we have got NAT rules here in our load balancer. This was not discussed when we were discussing about uh, what is this availability set and availability zones. So now we are focusing on NAT rules. However, these NAT rules were created at the time of VM creation, it's sorry, skill set creation, as we have enabled load balancer creation. So without this, you will not be able to connect to the instances that you have in your skill set. ఇక్కడ ఏంటంటే ఐపీ అడ్రస్ ఒకటే ఉంటుంది, లైక్ లోడ్ బ్యాలెన్సర్ ఐపీ అడ్రస్ వాడతారు అనమాట. బట్ ఫ్రంట్ ఎండ్ ఇది వాడతాం, బ్యాక్ ఎండ్ లో 3389 ఉంటుంది అనమాట. సో ఇలా ఉంటే గానీ నీకు విఎమ్స్ కనెక్ట్ అవ్వాలి. ఎందుకంటే ఫ్రంట్ ఎండ్ ఒకే పోర్ట్ నెంబర్, బ్యాక్ ఎండ్ ఒకే పోర్ట్ నెంబర్ ఇవ్వడానికి కుదరదు. బికాస్ ఫ్రంట్ ఎండ్, లెట్ మీ టెల్ యూ, సో google.com అని ఉంది, ఎన్ని చోట్ల ఎన్ని ఏరియాస్ లో google.com అని సెర్చ్ చేసినా google.com, రైట్? అదే నువ్వు how should I say, if you consider another name, if you know anything for Google, it is difficult to remember. It means you know that there is a original name behind it, but you can't recall it as the name. Let's say, let me give an example like this. అంతే కదా ఇప్పుడు ఊర్లో, లెట్ మీ గివ్ పర్సనల్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఫస్ట్. సో ఊర్లో ఉంటారు, నీ పేరు రొటీన్ గా ఏదో నిక్ నేమ్ తో పిలుస్తుంటారు. అండ్ ఆల్ ఆఫ్ ఎ సడన్ ఇఫ్ సమ్మన్ కమ్స్ అండ్ ఆస్క్స్ డూ యూ నో దిస్ గై అని చెప్పేసి ఒరిజినల్ పర్సన్ ఒరిజినల్ నేమ్ చెప్పారనుకోండి, మీ ఊర్లో ఎవరికీ తెలియదు. అప్పుడు ఏమవుతుంది? దెర్ ఇస్ అ డిస్కనెక్ట్. యాక్చువల్ ఫ్రంట్ ఎండ్ ఏదైతే అందరూ పిలుస్తారో ఆ నేమ్ చెప్తేనే వాళ్ళకి తెలుసు, కానీ బ్యాక్ ఎండ్ లో ఉన్న నేమ్ ఎవరికో ఆ సెక్యూరిటీ కోసం ఎవరికి చెప్పుండవు కాబట్టి ఎప్పుడో ఒకసారి ఎవరో వచ్చి పిలిస్తే అది ఎవరు ఎవరని అడుగుతారు అనమాట. ఇట్స్ ఎ కన్ఫ్యూజన్ స్టేట్ ఇన్ దట్ వరల్డ్. బట్ వెన్ యూ కన్సిడర్ హియర్ ద సేమ్ థింగ్. సో since the front end is visible to public, it should be unique, and same virtual machine will not should not have same port number for ఫ్రంట్ అండ్ మల్టిపుల్. బికాస్ నేను నీకు ఒక నేమ్ పెట్టాను, లెట్స్ సే ఎక్స్వైజెడ్ అని పెట్టాను, ఇంకొకటికి ఎక్స్వైజెడ్ పెడితే కన్ఫ్యూజ్ అవుతుంది కదా. జస్ట్ అజ్యూమ్ దాట్ రెండు పేర్లు ఉంటాయి. సో ఇక్కడ పబ్లిక్ ఐపీ అడ్రస్ రెండింటికి కామన్ గా ఉంది, ఎట్లా ఐడెంటిఫై చేయాలి నేను? రైట్, ఈవెన్ ఇఫ్ యూ హ్యాడ్ అనదర్ ఫైవ్ virtual machines, this front end IP address will be common, only this port number will be changed. సో ఇక్కడ పోర్ట్ నెంబర్, ఫ్రంట్ ఎండ్ పోర్ట్ నెంబర్స్ నీకు ఏది కావాలంటే అది ఇవ్వచ్చు. బట్ బ్యాక్ ఎండ్ లో దేనికి కనెక్ట్ అవ్వాలి? మళ్ళీ RDB port 3389 connect అవ్వాలి, because to connect to my virtual machine. So if you want to modify this, click on this and you will get an option. Let's say I'm changing this one to 2022. This is called front end port, and it is using load balancer IP address, and it is not showing any target virtual machine because everything is coming from scale set, virtual machine scale set. Okay, so 2022, save it, and let's see whether we are able to achieve the connectivity or not. Ah, right. So this is failed because these NAT rules were created by a scale set automatically. So we can't edit this front end, and we can't edit this another machine front end IP address as well. It will come up by default. If you want to add NAT rules manually, uh, we would have discussed that in availability set. So click on add. You will get a rule name, load balancer IP address, give the front end IP address and the back end IP address, sorry, port number, and then add. So ఎప్పుడు యూజ్ అవుతాయంటే ఇది again I am giving an example of this translation. If you want to hide original name and if you want to hide the port number which is original to the public users, then you are going to use this translation, not only for the URLs, even for the port numbers. And I don't want to disclose actual port number to the public network because of security concerns, and for that reason I am making it like this. Front ఒకటి back end ఒకటి ఉంటుంది అన్నమాట. Now ఎలా కనెక్ట్ అవ్వాలి? Let's say this is first VM. You have to go to MSTSC and copy that IP address, public IP address for the first machine, and then colon give port number 50,000. It should connect. It is not connecting. Still, there is one issue which we'll see in a bit. So error వస్తుంది మళ్ళీ కూడా. Still it is loading. ఎందుకు ఇలా చేశాను నేను? In case if you don't want to use this console because it is difficult to identify virtual machine names here, you can go back to scale set and here go to instances, click on this instance and click on this what is that, overview, and click on this connect RDP and choose this public IP address. Okay, so it will be clearly visible. Public IP address is common, only this port number that you need to understand, and for each and every machine there will be a different port number in the front end. అంతే కదా, ఇప్పుడు 10 మందికి నేను ఒకే నిక్ నేమ్ పెట్టలేం కదా, ఏదో ఒక డిఫరెన్స్ ఉండాలి కాబట్టి, బట్ బ్యాక్ ఎండ్ అంతా ఒకటే ఉంటుంది, like what we discussed with examples. So here also if you go to connect and if you look at for the second virtual machine, same public IP address but with different port number. Private IP addresses will keep on changing. It is not an issue because we are trying to expose to public internet only using public IP address. Okay, now let's see how to connect. Still there is some error, right? Networking. See here, we were trying to connect to those machines using front end 50,000 and the back end 3389. So there is no port number allowed here on this NSG part. So let me try to add inbound rule. So where I'm seeing the settings is under this scale set, you have got networking, and here you have got an option with network security group, add inbound rule. I'm just going with source any, destination is also any on this port number RDP 3389, and then I'm just giving the name like this, add it. Okay, so port 3389 has been added, and since this network security group is attached to network interface card, it is not attached to a subnet. See here, this is the VNet and subnet. However, this network security group is attached to network interface NIC01. So this is, oh sorry, let me see here whether it is a whether it is attached to network interfaces. Yes, it is attached to network interface, but in network interface names are same for different machines. This is for 0, which is scales at VM1, and scales at VM2. You can see IP address is different, but network interface is common. Okay, now we have allowed the port number as well. Let me try to connect to that virtual machine. If you want to go with the same approach like connect and then RDP download, a file will be downloaded. Here it is. Now let's try to connect, and see here you are able to key in the credentials and you can log in to the machine as usual. ఇంతకుముందు మనకు ఆప్షన్ రాలేదన్నమాట. Okay, and same process should be followed for any number of virtual machines that you have got on your system, on your subscription. Okay, I'm able to log in this method. Okay, now we know how to connect these scale set VM instances. నార్మల్ VMs కూడా పబ్లిక్ IP అడ్రస్ ఉంటే కనెక్ట్ అవుతుంది. ఇప్పుడు VPN లేకపోతే పబ్లిక్ IP అడ్రస్ ఉండాలి. VPN ఉంటే కనుక నీకు పబ్లిక్ IP అడ్రస్ అవసరం లేదు. Using public IP address for the VM connectivity is not recommended. Okay, whether it is through load balancer or any other method, exposing public IP address to public internet is not recommended for security concerns. Now we know how to connect. Again, I'm clicking on that virtual machine. Disks. So I will give this one as a task to you. ఏంటంటే నా దగ్గర 5 VMలు ఉన్నాయి. 5 VMలకి ఒకేసారి డిస్క్ అటాచ్ చేయాలి నేను. I want to attach all, attach disk to all the virtual machines, and how to do that. Is it possible? If it is possible, how to do that? So take it as a task and do your lab and let me know in next session. Okay, so I'm giving that one because you need to look for multiple settings for it, for that to configure. So that's the reason I'm giving. And remaining options are like as usual: insights, metrics, Azure Bastion, serial console, boot diagnostic. These are common options which we already discussed, and I'm not repeating now. Okay, now let's go back to another settings. Networking, we have just now configured the port number, same as like normal VNet network security group. You have this one, and if you click on this VNet, and this is the one which we have created at the time of scale set creation. Okay, scaling is as usual, and you can come back to the settings to increase. So if you want to see the history of this policies, here you can see run history. Now scale in policy, scale in అంటే ఏం చెప్పుకున్నాం, scale out అంటే ఏం చెప్పుకున్నాం, scale out means your missions will be increased, scale in means your missions will be decreased. So in this scale in policy, if we were discussing about that instances, there was couple of deletions were happening, right? So whenever you enable that rule, some instances were deleting. On what basis that they were deleting? If you look at, there is a condition for that as well. Balance across availability zones and fault domain. Then delete virtual machine with highest instance ID. సో అక్కడ నెంబర్ ఏదైతే వస్తుందో 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 అని వస్తాయి కదా, ఆ మెషిన్స్ డిఫాల్ట్ గా డిలీట్ చేయండి అని చెప్పేసి ఇక్కడ ఆప్షన్ ఉందన్నమాట. సో దిస్ ఇస్ వాట్ ఐ టోల్డ్, వీ కెన్ డూ ఆల్ దీస్ సెట్టింగ్స్ పోస్ట్ స్కేల్ సెట్ క్రియేషన్ as well. If not this with highest instance ID, you can use this one. You want to delete a newest virtual machine whenever there is a scaling enabled. You can go with this feature as well. If not, you can go for oldest VM to be deleted when there is a scaling rule applied. అంటే ఏంటి, for example here we have got 0 and 1, and if I enable auto scale rule, I will be getting, let's say, additional two more virtual machines, number 2 and number 3. Now when the rule gets triggered for scaling, then this existing old VMs will be deleted if I choose this feature, oldest VM. So generally people will go with default setting. ఏది డిలీట్ అవ్వాలి అనేది ఒకటే చాయిస్ ఇక్కడ ఉంది. ఓకే, యూ కెన్ సీ predictive charts. It means like it will show the data, predictive auto scale. However, this option is still in preview mode as we have seen under scaling rules. Run history, లాస్ట్ 7 days లో ఎన్నిసార్లు రన్ అయింది చూసుకోవచ్చు ఇక్కడ. ఓకే, the maximum instances that it went up to is 4 instances here on, I mean it is showing the old date as well, it is flat, but the actual has started only from yesterday, July 21st, and you can see it went up to maximum 5 instances, and it is also showing the timestamp. Okay, this is just a history that you can observe from this console. JSON, it is just as I mentioned, each and every configuration that you do using graphical interface, you will be having all that converted into JavaScript, which is like JSON. Okay, and notify, if you want to get an email notification whenever there is a auto scale rule enabled, ఎందుకంటే అడిషనల్ గా VMs క్రియేట్ అయినప్పుడు లేదు డిలీట్ అయినప్పుడు నీకు VMs డిలీట్ అయ్యాయని తెలుసుకోవాలంటే నోటిఫికేషన్స్ ఎనేబుల్ చేసుకోవచ్చు. సో దిస్ ఫీచర్ విల్ బి ఎనేబుల్డ్ ఓన్లీ వెన్ యూ హ్యావ్ స్కేల్ రూల్స్ ఎనేబుల్డ్. ఇప్పుడు మనకి ఏముందంటే మాన్యువల్ స్కేలింగ్ ఉంది, ఆటో స్కేల్ రూల్స్ లేవు. ఓకే, సో యూ హ్యావ్ దట్ ఫీచర్. యూ కెన్ గో ఫర్ diagnostic settings, and diagnostic settings are nothing but log information. I've given an example like blood checkup. If you go to a lab, diagnostics lab, so that's the reason they call it as diagnostics center. It means they are going to give end-to-end information about a health checkup or a blood checkup. Okay, same way, if you enable the diagnostic settings for these scale sets, you're going to get end-to-end logs and its information for scale set rules. Okay, that's the benefit of this. And now disks. I've given a task to attach disks to all the machines with one click. So there is one more option here along with VM level settings. Use this feature as well and try to work it out on your labs and let me know whether it is working or not. Okay, and let's go to this operating system. And as usual, you have got this information here: computer name prefix and username, VM agent provision, some basic things here. Whatever that we have seen in our normal VM settings, it is all there here in this section as well. Migrate to Azure Computer Gallery అంటే ఏంటంటే ఈ ఓఎస్ ఏదైతే నువ్వు యూస్ చేసావో ఈ VM లో, అది సర్వర్ 2019, అండ్ VMs అన్ని క్రియేట్ అయిన తర్వాత నువ్వేం చేసావు, ఆ VMs లాగిన్ అయ్యి నీకు కావాల్సిన అప్లికేషన్స్ కాన్ఫిగర్ చేసుకున్నావు. సో సడన్ గా ఆ VMs అనేది డిలీట్ అవ్వకుండా, ఒకవేళ అయినా కూడా ఫ్యూచర్ లో నేను మళ్ళీ సేమ్ కాన్ఫిగరేషన్ చేయాలి అంటే I have to do it from the scratch. So to avoid that kind of a rework, you can do migrate to Azure Compute Gallery. అంటే ఏంటి? It will capture the image of your server and it will store in Azure Gallery. And going forward, you can use that to deploy similar kind of virtual machines with applications. Everything will be there readily available. You have to just load it as like normal operating system. అలా చేసుకోవచ్చు అన్నమాట. ఓకే, నౌ అండ్ యూజర్ డేటా కస్టమ్ స్క్రిప్ట్స్ ఇవన్నీ ఆల్రెడీ చెప్పుకున్నాం. And we have discussed about this Microsoft Defender as well. Guest and host updates. It means if you want to upgrade operating systems for the virtual machines that you have got in your scale set, you can do it by using this start OS upgrade, which means all the servers which are there on your scale set will be upgraded. However, you have to plan this in lower environments like dev environments కావచ్చు, pre-prod కావచ్చు, అక్కడ ప్లాన్ చేసుకోవాలి. If you do directly in production platform, if there is any issue with this upgradation, there will be a business downtime. Okay, so that's one of the feature which you can do using this guest and host updates. And size of the virtual machine, so we have got two instances. And yeah, any question?
Upgrades, I mean, it is chargeable, right? Are those upgrades under
అప్గ్రేడ్స్ అంతా ఏంటిది?
charge చేస్తారు కదండి?
అది అన్నిటికీ ఉంటుంది. అంటే ఇప్పుడు లేటెస్ట్ ఫీచర్కి వెళ్తే మరీ అప్గ్రేడేషన్ కి చార్జెస్ అనేది, ఇప్పుడు నువ్వు ఆండ్రాయిడ్ 11 ఆండ్రాయిడ్ 12 ఏదో వాడుతున్నావు. ఆండ్రాయిడ్ 12 అంటే ఐఫోన్ కి వెళ్ళాలంటే ఏమవుతుంది? యూ హ్యావ్ టు స్పెండ్ అడిషనల్ కాస్ట్. చార్జెస్ అయితే ఉంటాయి, బట్ మరీ అంతలా ఉండవు అనమాట ఇక్కడ. ఎందుకంటే యూ ఆర్ జస్ట్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ఎ మైనర్ అప్డేట్ ఓన్లీ, ఇట్స్ నాట్ మేజర్ అప్డేట్స్. ఎవ్రీ వీక్ ఎవ్రీ లైక్ సమ్ టైమ్స్ ఇఫ్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ఆపరేటింగ్ సిస్టమ్, నీకు లైసెన్స్ ఉందనుకో, లెట్స్ సే ఇఫ్ యూ హెవ్ గాట్ సర్వర్ లైసెన్స్, సో లైసెన్స్ ఉన్నప్పుడు నీకు ఆ అప్డేట్స్ అన్ని ఫ్రీ అనమాట. ఓకే, లైసెన్స్ లేదు, డైరెక్ట్ గా నువ్వు ఓఎస్ ను స్కిప్ చేస్తున్నావు అంటే కొంచెం కాస్ట్ వేస్తారు, బట్ ఇట్ ఈస్ నాట్ అప్ టు ద హైయర్ ఎక్స్టెంట్. ఓకే, నౌ క్లియర్ అయిందా? Okay, so size of the virtual machine. So if you want to increase the capacity of the servers as part of the scale set, you can increase and try this one also in your lab. ఎందుకంటే మనకి ఇక్కడ ఒకే ఆప్షన్ ఉంది. ఇక్కడ చేస్తే అక్కడ ఉన్న 2 VMs లేకపోతే 3 కావచ్చు, 4 కావచ్చు, అన్ని అప్గ్రేడ్ అవుతాయా లేదా చూడండి ఒకసారి. ఓకే, take this size and disks as a task and let me know. Okay, and as usual, whatever we have discussed as part of this session, like scale set rules కావచ్చు అండ్ ద కనెక్టివిటీ పార్ట్ కావచ్చు, అది నార్మల్ ల్యాబ్స్ కింద చేయండి. ఓకే, అండ్ రిమైనింగ్ ఆప్షన్స్ ఆర్ ఆల్ జనరల్ ఆప్షన్స్ విచ్ వీ ఆల్రెడీ డిస్కస్డ్. ఎక్కడ డిస్కస్ చేసాం? నార్మల్ విఎం అప్పుడు డిస్కస్ చేసాం. ఎక్స్టెన్షన్స్ ఆర్ నథింగ్ బట్ సాఫ్ట్వేర్స్ విచ్ హెస్ గాట్ very thin setup that you can install without logging into your virtual machine from this portal. Continuous delivery, this is like DevOps things. Configuration, again in this configuration you can see notifications, termination notifications, over provisioning notifications. అంటే ఏంటి? ఆ రూల్స్, ఆ స్కేల్ సెట్ రూల్స్ ప్రకారం, ఆటో స్కేలింగ్ రూల్స్ ప్రకారం ఇక్కడ ఇన్స్టెన్సెస్ ఒక్కొక్కసారి డిలీట్ అయిపోతుంటాయి, మళ్ళీ యాడ్ అవుతుంటాయి. అట్లా ఏవైనా డిలీట్ అయినప్పుడు నీకు నోటిఫికేషన్ కావాలి అంటే యూ కెన్ ఎనేబుల్ దిస్ నోటిఫికేషన్. ఓకే, ఇట్ మీన్స్ ఈ 7 minutes ఉంది కదా ఇక్కడ, ఆ 7 minutes వరకు హోల్డ్లో ఉండి ఆ నోటిఫికేషన్ ఆ స్పెసిఫిక్ యూజర్స్కి ఇచ్చి తర్వాత ఇది డిలీట్ అవుతుంది అనమాట. బట్ ఇలాంటివి చేయాలంటే ఇట్ విల్ బి a kind of again there will be performance impact for you when you enable this kind of waiting period. ఓకే, అండ్ ఓవర్ ప్రొవిజనింగ్ అంటే ఇప్పుడు మనం ఇంతకుముందు 4 మెషిన్స్ తీసుకున్నాం మాక్సిమం. ఇఫ్ యూ వాంట్ టు గో ఫర్ 5, 10, 20, that will become over provisioning for your subscription. If you enable this over provisioning, this option using this option, additional VMs also can be created. Okay, so you can see here with over provisioning turned on, the scale set actually spins up more VMs than you asked for, then deletes extra VMs once the requested number of VMs are successfully provisioned. అంటే ఏంటంటే ఇక్కడ ఇన్స్టెన్స్ ఉన్నాయి కదా, నువ్వు 4 ఇచ్చే అకౌంట్ ఇక్కడ రూల్ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అయింది. ఆ 4 క్రియేషన్ అయ్యే టైంలో ఇక్కడ నీకు ఒక 10 VMలు కనిపిస్తాయి ఈ కన్సోల్లో. అంటే ఏంటి, డిఫరెంట్ అవైలబిలిటీ సెట్స్ అండ్ జోన్స్లో VMs క్రియేట్ చేస్తుంది అనమాట. హవెవర్ అన్నీ క్రియేట్ అయిన తర్వాత ఫస్ట్ కమ్ ఫస్ట్ సర్వ్ అన్నట్టు ఏది ఫస్ట్ క్రియేట్ అవుతుందో అది ఇక్కడ నీకు అవైలబిలిటీ రన్నింగ్లోకి వచ్చేస్తుంది. సెకండ్ తర్వాత అవైలబిలిటీ వస్తుంది. 10 వస్తాయని చెప్పాను కదా, 10 రావచ్చు, 10, 20 రావచ్చు, 5 రావచ్చు. ఇట్ విల్ షో జస్ట్ ఫర్ creation purpose, but after the creation it will show only the actual VMs based on the rule that you have enabled, and that is what it is called as over provisioning here under this configuration. Okay, same like we have got placement, proximity placement groups, host groups and even capacity reservations as usual. Upgradation policy, again you can set it like no VMs upgrade cheyalante existing machines manual గా అప్గ్రేడ్ చేయాలా లేకపోతే ఆటోమేటిక్గా చేయాలా ర్యాండమ్గా చేయాలా అనేది ఇక్కడ నువ్వు సెట్టింగ్ చూసుకోవాలన్నమాట. ఓకే, సో యూజింగ్ దిస్ సెట్టింగ్ యూ విల్ బి ఏబుల్ టు మేక్ యువర్ అప్గ్రేడేషన్ పాలసీ. Health and repair, as usual, we know that how to see the resource health, and we know, I mean, this is yet to be discussed. Properties తెలుసు, లాక్స్ తెలుసు. ఇక్కడ ప్రాపర్టీస్ చూడండి, ఆ సర్వర్ సైజ్కి మీకు ఇక్కడే ఆన్సర్ వచ్చేసింది. సైజ్ అప్గ్రేడ్ చేస్తే ఎన్ని ఇన్స్టెన్స్ ఉన్నాయి అన్ని ఇన్స్టెన్సెస్ కూడా అప్గ్రేడ్ అవుతాయి అన్నమాట. ఓకే, now we have got logs and then monitoring insights, and these are already covered. Some options are there which we'll be looking when we have a log analytics workspace discussion. Okay, and metrics, so these are common settings which I'm not repeating. If you want to reset password, you can reset password here and all the VMs will get updated with the latest password. ఓకే, సో ఇది ట్రై చేయండి, ల్యాబ్ అయితే పర్ఫెక్ట్గా చేయండి, ఎందుకంటే మర్చిపోతూ ఉంటారు ల్యాబ్ చేయకపోతే. I'm going to delete all these skill sets so that you can use on your lab. So tomorrow I will discuss about backup. So that will take another 2 days to cover the backup. And then after backup, we have got monitoring, which is like I'm going to discuss about log analytics workspace. Tarawata Active Directory. And then migration. So we have got hardly, as I mentioned yesterday, 10 to 15 days